Thank you. Sorry, squeeze through. Wonderful. So it's a pleasure to be able to round off today's session with a fantastic panel. Yeah, we're going to deep dive hopefully into some of the country specifics that we've been talking about so far today. We've got a fantastic panel as has just been introduced to discuss this, and obviously Dr. Chen's presentation before this gave fantastic context for why this is so important. So I think we've only got 30 minutes and there's 5 speakers, so we'll dive straight in. We've got roughly 5 minutes each. So maybe Natalia, if I start with you.
Hi.
On screen, hiya.
Hi, Sebastian, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Lovely to see you. So Indonesia, obviously where you are based, has been a lot of activity recently to be developing carbon markets there. I guess it would be really great to hear, some of the current policies that you're seeing come through, the regulatory framework and the general environment as it relates to, the common carbon framework as well, and the improvements that you think need to be made in order to continue making progress.
Thanks so much, Sebastian, and hi everyone. I will be joining you tomorrow in person. For today, I guess just also want to share a little bit about the observation across the ASEAN region, and particularly to Indonesia. And I do think Pak Riza will share a little bit more deep diving on Indonesia as he will also share his view. As the ASEAN market, we see that there is definitely a very growing dynamic progress in the region, on how regions such as Indonesia, Malaysia is initially considering a more national stance towards the carbon market, and now starting to embrace more and more the international market as well. So Sebastian, especially for the Indonesia, just recently in January 2025, we have seen the inaugural launch of the international trade of the carbon credits using the Indonesian standard and Indonesian registry. So it is one step to further enhance national cooperation in embracing international markets and allowing the corresponding adjustment to be done on the carbon credits that is traded. So we do think that this is a positive progress into embracing more and more international cooperation, international markets, and international mechanism. And I guess this is also timely as how we see Article 6.4 is developing on how more collaborations and infrastructure is being put under the UN supervisory body as well. And we also see that in light towards the ASEAN common framework discussion that Dr. Winnie as well as Renard is leading through the Malaysian associations this year, we do think this is setting up the stage for stronger regional collaboration. I guess what we're seeing is each economies is seeing the value of strengthening national and embracing international. And with that kind of ambition, it makes sense to also figure out how the regional collaboration can be strengthened, so then not only like each market's strength, both supply and demand is being tapped, but also the regional strength as ASEAN economies will be strengthened as well. So I guess I leave it to you, Sebs, on the follow-up questions, but we do think that this is a good progress, and each country, as you know, ASEAN have its own pace and its own route. And it's important to respect both national progresses and in its way to embrace the international stance as well, one step at a time. So I guess we're seeing the progress, and hopefully to welcome a stronger collaboration both on the regional side as well as international, especially on the both compliance as well as voluntary market coming forward. Seb.
Yeah, thanks, Natalia, and we'll maybe come back to talk about some of the challenges that you see going forward. But before that, I want to turn to Renard. Renard, who very kindly presented in the opening session this morning, some of the work that's being done to bring together the Common Carbon Framework. Obviously, Malaysia currently chairing the ASEAN Common the overall ASEAN group. So it'd be good to hear from Malaysia perspective what you see as best practice coming out of Malaysia, and the influence that you think this can have over a drive towards a common carbon framework.
Yeah, I'm sort of conscious that we only have 30 minutes. So maybe just very quickly in Malaysia, like we obviously have a voluntary carbon market, like ecosystem, like under BCX. We currently have one project, nature-based project, the Kwamut Rainforest Conservation Project, which had its very first issuance in, which is a nature-based project. And that's really setting the standard, right, in terms of where we want to head towards. So as I've mentioned earlier, ACCF, the ASEAN Common Carbon Framework, was really set up with the intention of really wanting to accelerate high integrity supply, right, of carbon credits. So our phase one is really to focus very much on supply. As I've mentioned during my presentation, there were a couple of bottlenecks that we've noticed, cost being one of them, the other bottleneck being the sort of capacity in terms of validators and verifiers. So ACCF was really set up with that intention of wanting to accelerate that. In terms of sort of the compliance side of things, during our Prime Minister's budget speech in 2025, he did announce that a carbon tax is coming, and it will first hit the iron, steel, and energy sectors. The emissions trading scheme, or ETS, was mentioned briefly in our National Climate Change Policy 2.0. Now, how that would shape up eventually, right, remains to be seen, whether it's going to be a hybrid with a carbon tax or ETS. But I think there's already a lot of hype currently around, what's going to happen, like what sort of thresholds are we going to meet, what sort of carbon prices, right, would be set in order for us to move forward with this. So I think there's a lot of excitement over that. And through ACCF, with Malaysia sort of taking the lead on this framework, I think if anything, it's just going to spur, greater growth and interest. Of course, we can't do this without our counterparts who are very much like seated, beside me today.
Absolutely, and Kwamut's also following best practice by getting a B zero carbon rating, which I am told helped them to sell lots of credits, but I wouldn't know. Fantastic, thank you. So Riza, if I could turn to you next. Obviously, one of the benefits of trying to create a common carbon framework is that alignment of methodologies, trying to bring together best practice. You have a lot of experience developing projects in Indonesia. There's some fantastic nature-based projects that come out of Indonesia, some of the biggest in the world in the voluntary carbon market, certainly. So do you want to give us some of your perspectives on what we can learn from that in trying to develop best practice within the ACCF?
Thank you, Seb. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, ACCF, for today. I think it's a very wonderful opportunity. Yes, I think what Ria or Natalia just mentioned, overall, I think Indonesia now is very excited to open another round of FOLU international trading, which is hopefully within 3 or 4 months' time for now. Don't quote me on this yet because it's unofficial, but I think there's a lot of excitement already there. But there are some challenges from us, some of our members, and also some project developers. The aim that we are like to propose and try to execute during this upcoming FOLU international trading. Number one, we will list pipeline of new projects. Number two, I think we would like also to make some of the legacy projects that was previously being suspended to be reopened again. Number three, I think we also would like to see Article 6.2, at least some engagement bilateral. There are some discussions already, including with Singapore, but I think time is also some of the constraint. I don't think 3-4 months time will be enough, concerning there are many things to discuss. Regarding the ACCF, I think I would like to pinpoint, I think, some of the challenge and some previous presenters also explained how the demand side needs to be more encouraged and more committed. I think we have seen already a lot of high integrity effort and seriousness from us, from the supplier side. But I think we need to gather, and also from ACCF perspective, not just trying to develop common methodologies or common frameworks, but I think advocating and also getting the demand side to work together, that will be very essential.
Absolutely, thank you. As a turning next to you, Ms. Nathalang, Thailand, obviously a lot of work going on there in how to utilize Article 6, the development of the TIVA mechanism, some fantastic questions being posed around the interaction between credits and Thailand's NDC and how to manage that. I reference that because that was something we were directly asked as well. So it'd be great to hear, given the work that Thailand's doing, how you see the adaptation required to align with a future common carbon framework.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, and thanks MCMA for leading this. I think excitement is also the words that I can use in Thailand, due to the fact that we are now finalizing the draft Climate Change Act, which will be proposed to the cabinet and then to the parliament. It will take a few years before that will be in action, but comes with the act will be carbon tax, carbon credit trading, from voluntary to mandatory, will be ETS system. So everything that would push the transition, the green transition. So Thailand has had the voluntary market since 2012, and then in a few years now we're seeing the big change if the act comes into effect. For now, we still have, quite a large volume of carbon credits out there that are still, need to be acquired. But new projects are also being developed. Carbon tax, despite the fact that the act will have to wait for a few years, we are introducing carbon tax very soon by the excise department, only because they're using the methodology applied to petroleum, taking part of the excise tax and use it as carbon tax. And us, being in an energy company, will be among the first to be applied. So again, that's another development that's happening in the market. In terms of Article 6.2, we had one successful agreement with Switzerland a few years back, and now we are making more and more and hoping to see more, turning from local TIVA into premium TIVA that could be internationally accepted by CORSIA. So along the way, we're trying to move, from the local version to a more internationally recognized version, and the ACCF can be a very good platform for us to springboard in a sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy, hello. You work for a bank. Banks are very important in the progression of carbon markets, and Standard Chartered is one which is obviously a leader, not only here in Singapore in the broader financial markets, but in a sustainable finance space as well. You obviously spend a lot of your time trying to talk about carbon markets to some of your colleagues who aren't as used to talking carbon as you are. Do you want to talk about some of the benefits that a common carbon framework might be able to bring in terms of unlocking finance?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yes, you are right. I have most of my day, well, not most of my day, some of my day is spent explaining what carbon is to our credit and risk departments and why they should be putting more of these financing structures in place. We did a first specified debt financing last year using removal credits. So we're looking to scale that up. And I think something like the ACCF creating kind of standardization across the market. Ultimately, if we can convince our internal stakeholders that it's almost a commodity. It behaves like a commodity. There's if the credits don't get delivered from one project, you can equally deliver from a different project. And less of this sort of, at the moment, it's quite a project by project case, which is fine, we can handle that. But I think going forward, in order to scale up the financing, we really need that standardization. And if we can get this harmonization across ASEAN, that would be really useful for us and for the market. Scaling carbon financing is really key to getting these projects up and running and get the market up and running. And I think, yeah, benefit everyone.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm not sure how much time we have left. I'm assuming that somebody's going to wave at me and tell me to shut up if we're running out of.
If I just may add one thing from
Absolutely.
Thailand is
Please.
that the good news is we have, I think we have the member online today joining from the Stock Exchange of Thailand. So SET, Stock Exchange has stepped up in this and taking a lead. We hope to see more of the active participation from SET in the regional carbon markets. And in Thailand, we are also hoping that there will be the kind of national platform, the mothership, that all the platforms that we now have can be a satellite platform when it comes to mandatory carbon markets.
Fantastic. Ria, if I can perhaps come back to you on
Yes.
the screen. I know that you're working closely with project developers. You're setting up a platform to provide kind of tech solutions to help them with project development. Do you want to just talk us through some of the challenges that project developers are facing currently, and why you think it would be beneficial to unlocking more project development through the development of something like the ACCF?
Yeah. Thanks, Sebs. I think beyond the general support or clarity on the steps to clarify regulations and the exact legality, I guess that's also experienced not only in particular economies, but also across Southeast Asia, as we also engage with different countries and players in the countries, project developers in the countries, right? I would call out two main challenges. The first one is actually there's still a lot of technical gaps in terms of how, for example, a project developer or an asset owner that used to have a typical timber concession, palm oil concession activity, right? To convert towards protecting or conducting reforestation. Sometimes there's a technical gap in terms of what kind of people they need to hire, what kind of work plan do they need to start on day one when they have already the permit and want to start day one of their project activity, right? So I would say, given the exponential interest of across different asset owners in the regions, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, that we are overseeing, right? There is the question about how do we start and what kind of resources we can get to support, be it from each other countries in the Southeast Asia, but also from outside of Southeast Asia countries. And that is where I do think the ACCF is going to support, because one of the pillar is actually about the technical capability of the project supply, but also the LVV verification bodies as well, right? To actually streamline the discussion about what a carbon project requires, how do they measure additionality, so then they could set up the right resources when deciding the project development team. So one is definitely on the technical capabilities and talent. But number two, I would also pick up on Pak Riza's comment. I guess for project developer, not only they need to think about the technical execution and make sure the project is certified, but also balancing it towards what the market requires these days, right? So sometimes looking at the opportunity in the Southeast Asia, especially, there is still a big supply of avoidance project, right? Under the improved forest management, under the different types of RED and its updated RED methodologies, right? Meanwhile, the market sometimes only value or currently is having a stronger value on the reforestation. So I guess for project developers, when they see this kind of challenge, right, it's also a question. regarding, what kind of project they want to develop, because they see the impact is there, but sometimes the market is a bit, questionable on a certain types of methodology. So I guess a big homework for ACCF also is how do we help build the market both regionally and beyond, to see what is needed by the region, right? So to appreciate and give value towards different types of methodology, both reforestation as well as protection, right? Because we do see the requirement, and actually us as a region, ASEAN, still needs it. So I guess those two big challenge steps, if not too much, and can be done in the next 12 months. I'm seeing Dr. Renard here is like squinting the eyes. I guess, a lot of work that we need to do in terms of ACCF is to prioritize which one, and just make sure that we don't stumble upon the big challenge, and able to break it down to different quick wins, to show progress one step at a time, but also show achievements one step at a time, to make the region not lose hope on the regional capability set.
Fantastic. Not too much to do then.
Yes.
To perhaps to continue on that trend, Renard, you finished your presentation this morning by posing the question: Are people ready? What would be your kind of call to action? You've got a diverse room here and people dialed in. Like where do you see the biggest challenges that the people here can be helping to tackle in moving towards a common carbon framework?
I suppose after hearing from Ria, I'm starting to have doubts myself.
Joke. You're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I mean, not on stage, certainly. No, actually, on a more serious note, I think there are certain challenges that we face. I think one of the key things that we're really trying to push with ACCF is trying to get this endorsed really at an ASEAN secretariat level. And I think navigating that, through, various spectrums has been quite challenging. I think what we do want to do is really to make ACCF, right, truly an ASEAN common carbon framework. So not just Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore and Thailand, but to eventually also bring in the other ASEAN member states on board. So that task alone, right, is quite mammoth. I suppose wanting to build up on Ria's point as well, I think while some of the pendulum perhaps have swung towards more removal credits, I think in ASEAN, avoidance credits is also still important. And I think collectively, as a whole in ASEAN, I think there is still a case to be made, and we have to make our voices heard. So trying to find that unifying voice in terms of identifying what's truly still additional to our countries, I think it's going to be such pivotal work, while also trying to gain legitimacy. Even though we have domestic localized methodologies, it's by no means a lower standard. I think I need to emphasize that. In our framework, like we still say that high integrity credits is still what we want to aim for. And we are open to actually work together with our stakeholders to actually make it happen. Our MoC is only for 2 years. So before we pass on the baton, if you like, right, to Singapore at the end of the 2 years, this would be my wish for us to actually have something scalable, at least a pilot to demonstrate that ACCF is a workable and scalable solution.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so, Riza, coming back to you, we've heard the challenges. We've heard, Lucy talking about the need to try and, turn this more into a commodity, or at least something that can be treated equally. But that shouldn't lead to lower standards. Obviously, as a project developer, what's happening on the ground is really what matters, and that really varies from project to project. Each project is unique. So do you want to talk about some of the challenges, I guess, beyond just the carbon element you see in being able to create this common framework so that it captures safeguards and community benefits and ensures that all of the beyond carbon benefits remain?
Yes, I think the most important thing is the delivery in terms of co-benefits, community development, biodiversity. And I just had an experience with one particular registry or methodologies, for example. Now Indonesia already opened for Vera. Last week, we just had a closed door. This is actually still confidential, but I guess everybody already knew that Vera and Ministry of Environment of Indonesia already met. We are talking this and discussing about mutual recognition and everything. And I think it's good to go now. And we have some pilot projects to be hopefully being red carpeted by Vera, because now it's queuing up process is incredibly long, and Vera himself is getting slower and slower. So I guess ACCF can do advocating not just in terms of the government or regulation per se, but I think all the stakeholders, other stakeholders, including independent registries, also needs to open up their eyes, because I think once we convince our respective governments, in the case of ASEAN, I think we can do just that. But I think we need to go beyond that as well. And registries and standards also have to work closely and also openly, because sometimes they have bureaucracy themselves and they need to work towards this tackling climate issues.
Absolutely, thank you. And so turning back to Thailand, Ms. Nathalang, so as you said, you signed a 6.2 agreement with Switzerland, one of the first credits that were issued into the Article 6 market. Perhaps if you could talk about the benefits that bringing the countries together under the ACCF may enable in terms of development of Article 6 elsewhere in the world, in terms of creating more demand pools. So from your experience in developing these bilateral agreements, do you think that a common carbon framework would help to sign more agreements elsewhere and attract more countries on the demand side into Article 6?
I think ultimately what we would like to see is the kind of regional verification. Thailand, 70 million people, ASEAN, 600 million. So that's the real, a much stronger market. And if we can be unified, if we can align on the policy, if it's borderless among us. For example, if one could register in Thailand and can do the activities in all the other countries in the framework, that would help ease the transaction. So we can attract more from outside the region. So I now would like to see how we can pilot the project and scale up. And 2 years can be very fast. It's been already a few months after COP29. So we're now starting to work on the work streams and hoping that, we can get something done within the time frame.
Sorry, can I just jump in very quickly to say that the MoC signatories are working very hard. We are setting a governance structure. We are identifying work streams, and in the coming months, I think we're going to work towards getting, ACCF truly operationalized.
Fantastic. And so hopefully, 6.2 agreements can be easily replicated amongst different ASEAN countries. Lucy, to come back to you, you're obviously also involved in the SSFA, the Singapore Sustainable Finance Association, that's doing a lot of work to promote the role Singapore can play in this. Do you want to talk us through a bit about your role in that and how you see that helping?
Yeah, so I think SFA is doing a great job. Lake is amazing and patient. So we're one of 5 work streams across SSFA. So we co-lead the carbon markets work stream. I think we were talking earlier how we sort of very, very ambitious to begin with. We set out 6 different sub-working groups to cover the whole spectrum of problems within problem states within Singapore carbon markets, and what are the blockers and what we need to do to kind of scale up the financing and create this sort of hub in Singapore. But we've narrowed it down to 3 eventually, so that the first one will be with the ACCF. So that's a real priority for everyone in the region, for us, for the other stakeholders. Second one is to go back to that demand side, which everyone keeps talking about. So looking at creating a claims code guidance for corporates within Singapore and maybe using that as some sort of template for other countries as well, and what that looks like. So yeah, a lot of work's being done across looking at various other claims guides which are already in play and how that can relate to Singapore, and then, you know, plus a few points, etc. And then the third one really is around carbon financing. And to begin with, that was kind of put slightly on ice just because we didn't feel that the demand was there, but suddenly there's been a real push to get that up and running from a government level as well. So suddenly it's all guns blazing to really work out how to get financing scaled up within Singapore and beyond. What you know, we speak to the government bilaterals, they're like, what can we do as a bank? What can we incentivize? How do we make it easier for you? And so they're really looking to push that agenda, which is great. So on the back of that, then you get the government support, you get that trickle down into the private sector. There's a lot happening. It's very, very interesting, and looking forward to the developments within ACCF.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, with that, if everyone could join me in thanking our panel, and I think that wraps us up for today. So thank you everyone for all your attention. I'll pass back over to the speaker, but please join me in giving our panel a round of applause. We're taking questions.
Because no worries. The discussion has been very interesting, and I know that there's a lot of interest from the group as well, from the audience. So that's why we're going to give you and people joining online also the opportunity to ask any questions, share their thoughts, maybe, so I don't know, some motivating words that, yes, we believe in that workable and scalable.
Can I just ask if there's anyone from the Philippines that have dialed in? Because I have a very specific request.
Do we have like Philippine audience in the online? We do. So you can appeal to them.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, any secret anyways. We know that Philippines will be next year's like ASEAN chairman. So one of our asks has always been, you know, would the Philippines actually look at perhaps setting up an association of sorts, which could also be part of, you know, like the continuity of the work that ACCF is doing, because we do want to make sure that there's continuity and legacy in the work that we do. So that would be one specific ask, and if there's anyone in the Philippines who's willing to reach out, maybe to the Secretariat or myself, I'm quite happy to have a further chat on that.
Thank you. So, do we have a question from the room? No. So I'm still happy that I stopped you because we're going to take pictures, one of the most critical aspects of this event. So if you would like to stand up, so I'll invite all the ACCF MoC Signatories to take a picture just here. If any more representative of the association would like to go up on the stage or not, then we'll just take it with the end.